jump into a deep dive, shall we? This one's all about English football, and specifically the safe standing movement.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, that whole story of, like, fans fighting to stand at matches.
Read
It's
that.
been going on for decades. Really fascinating stuff. You sent us this academic article, pretty in-depth.
Oh,
I
cool.
got our expert here, of course, to kind of help us break it down. Ready to go.
Absolutely. It's an amazing story, actually. How these fans, they challenged the system
Yeah.
and ultimately how they reshaped, the whole landscape of the sport.
So this article, it takes us all the way back to the 80s.
Okay.
And, English football back then, bit of a wild time, right?
Yeah.
You had hooliganism casting a shadow over everything.
Right.
Then those awful tragedies, Heysel and Hillsborough. I mean,
It's a dark period.
yeah. And then 1994, that all-seater stadium mandate, that really changed things.
It did, yeah.
Remember those, like, iconic pictures of packed terraces, everyone standing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, packed in like sardines. And, it was in the wake of all that, those tragedies, all those changes, that's when the safe standing movement kind of began to take root. It wasn't just about bringing back standing, though. It was more than that. It
Sure.
was about like reclaiming a part of the fan experience, this thing that many felt had been kind of unfairly taken away.
Right. Almost like a pendulum swing.
Exactly.
From, no rules, everyone standing, to all-seater, and then this push to bring it back, but safely this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And the article, it uses this term, social movement fields,
Okay.
to explain how these movements evolve over time.
Right.
Like, think of it as a football pitch
Okay.
with different players all competing for influence.
I like that.
So you've got the fans, right? Organized in groups like the
Yeah.
Football Supporters Association, the FSA,
Yeah.
and they're going up against these powerful institutions like the Football Licensing Authority, the FLA.
So it's not just about wanting to stand. It's this whole power struggle, different groups, agendas.
Exactly. And the article, it breaks this movement down into 3 periods,
Okay.
each one with its own challenges, its own strategies. The first one runs from 1989 to 1999, so right after Hillsborough.
Wow. So, like, the wounds were still fresh then.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, imagine the emotions, the trauma.
I bet there was, like, a lot of anger, frustration among the fans.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Groups like the FSA, and then you had the independent supporters groups, the ISAs. They became very vocal, using fanzines, protests, demanding a return to standing.
So they organized.
Yeah, they even launched a campaign, Bring Back Terracing, but right away they hit a wall.
Who was, like, the main opposition?
John DeQuitt, he was head of the FLA.
Okay, so DeQuitt, key figure. What was his deal? Purely safety concerns.
Well, the article suggests it was more about control.
Okay.
He saw standing as inherently risky safety-wise and in terms of, crowd trouble. For him, all-seater was the only way to keep things in check.
Prevent another disaster.
Yeah, exactly. And that really set the scene for the fight ahead.
Clash of ideologies right from the start. Freedom versus control. Then we move into this second period, 1999 to 2009.
Right.
The article mentions this convertible standing seating technology.
Oh, interesting.
Those rail seats we see now, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this is where it gets really fascinating. Fan groups, they're looking beyond England now for solutions, and they find this rail seating in Germany.
Oh, smart.
So it shows the importance of these international networks.
Sharing ideas.
Yeah, like Football Supporters International, spreading the knowledge. The FSA, they put together a whole report on this technology.
We're serious about it.
Oh, yeah, they start lobbying to get it implemented.
Makes sense.
But they hit another wall. Chris Smith, he was the Secretary of State for Culture, Media, and Sport.
So still a lot of pushback against standing, even with this new tech.
There was, but there's this great story in the article about Kate Hoey, the sports minister.
Okay.
She was actually on the fans' side.
Really?
Yeah, they kind of get their report heard. So she suggests, hey, use an internet cafe, leak it to the press.
Wow, guerrilla tactics.
It shows how far they were willing to go to be heard.
And it seems like they were getting more strategic, how they were approaching this whole thing.
Oh, absolutely. And that's reflected in their language, too.
How so?
They built from bring back terracing to safe standing.
Ah, Sav.
They realized terracing had bad connotations,
Yeah, think so.
So they reframed it to address those safety concerns head on.
So by changing the words, they changed the whole conversation.
Exactly. And this framing, it would prove crucial as they moved into the third period.
Which we'll dive into after a short break. But before we do that, what stood out to you so far about, how this movement took shape in those early years.
Yeah, that was smart, wasn't it?
Really was.
Yeah.
They were like acknowledging the safety stuff, but also saying, hey, standing can be done right.
Right.
But then this third period, 2009 to 2022, things get even more interesting, right? The FSA, it's like they kind of level up.
Yeah, they get more professional, their approach changes.
More organized.
Absolutely. They start focusing on building what they call a business case for safe standing.
Okay.
Not just safety anymore, but like the benefits for fans, for the clubs.
Smart.
Yeah, better atmosphere, more revenue, giving fans more choice.
So they were appealing to a wider range of like interests.
Exactly.
Not just the diehards who wanted to stand no matter what.
Right.
More strategic thinking long term.
Absolutely. Playing the long game.
Yeah.
And then 2010, this DCMS inquiry into football governance.
Okay.
Huge moment. Gave the FSA a platform to present their case to a wider audience.
Not just preaching to the choir anymore.
Yeah, and they used this opportunity brilliantly. They shifted their framing again.
How so?
They moved away from just safety and started talking about choice.
Oh, interesting.
Recognizing that, things had changed. Fans' expectations were different.
It's not the 80s anymore.
Yeah. Safe standing, not about the past, but about a better experience for the modern fans.
Smart. Very smart.
And this paves the way for the Sports Ground Safety Authority, the SGSA, to actually commission research to rail seating, its safety.
So bringing science into it.
Exactly. No more just anecdotes or emotions. They had hard data.
Data talks.
And it was persuasive. 2022, after all those years, campaigning, research.
Just a long time.
The government, they finally give the green light.
Wow.
Licensed standing areas in English and Welsh football stadiums.
It's huge.
A monumental victory for the safe standing movement.
Decades of work, and they actually changed the rules. It's inspiring in a way to see that kind of persistence pay off.
It is.
But the article, it does hint that even with this win, the journey's not over.
No, not quite.
Still some tension, right?
Right. Not everyone's convinced that safe standing is the right move.
Makes sense.
You've got figures like Mark Roberts. He's the UK's National Police Chiefs Council football policing lead.
Okay, long title.
He's expressed concerns, link standing areas to, potential for trouble, antisocial behavior.
So even though the laws changed, those old fears about standing, crowd control, they haven't gone away.
No, there's still this mistrust, I think, towards fans who want to stand.
Interesting. And we see this in how some clubs have implemented rail seating.
Right.
Like Liverpool FC, they're very careful to say, this is not a safe standing area.
Yeah.
Fans should only stand at like key moments.
Right. It's like they're trying to control how fans express themselves.
Even within these designated areas. Makes you wonder, is this really a victory for fan choice or just another form of like regulation control?
That's the question, isn't it? Safe standing, it's a milestone, but the debate about fan behavior, stadium control, it's far from over.
Feels like we're at a crossroads, this new era of licensed standing. But that tension's still there. Freedom versus control. What does it mean for the future of safe standing? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good question. A lot to think about there.
It does feel like we've kind of just scratched the surface, haven't we?
We have.
Like we've seen how this movement, they fought for so long.
Yeah.
Changed the conversation from no standing at all to these licensed areas.
Right.
But like you said, the debate, it's not over. What do you think the future holds for safe standing? And what lessons can we kind of take away from this whole journey?
Well, I think the future of safe standing really depends on a few things. First, how well these licensed areas actually work in practice.
Yeah.
Will they actually, make the experience better for fans?
Right.
Or will they become too, I don't know, regulated, too sanitized, lose that energy they were supposed to bring back?
Yeah, it's that balance, isn't it? Freedom and control. Fans want to stand, sing, be passionate.
Exactly.
But there's that fear that it could lead to, trouble.
And that's where the second factor comes in, trust. Can clubs and authorities learn to trust fans to behave responsibly in these standing areas?
Right.
Or will it be, constant monitoring, restrictions, which would defeat the purpose?
That's almost like a test case,
It is.
If safe standing works, if it shows that fans can stand safely, passionately, it could change the whole approach to fan culture, more relaxed, more trusting.
I think so, yeah. And that brings us to the third factor, the fans themselves. They need to stay engaged, keep the dialogue going, prove that they can be passionate A&D responsible, hold clubs and authorities accountable, make sure safe standing is done right, respects fan culture, makes match day better.
So it's bigger than just standing. It's about building that respect, understanding between fans, clubs, everyone,
Exactly.
recognizing that everyone has a part to play in creating that safe, enjoyable atmosphere.
And I think the safe standing movement, it's got lessons for anyone who wants to create change, even in systems that seem, impossible to change. They showed persistence, smart framing, the importance of building alliances, having those tough
They
conversations.
weren't afraid to challenge the way things were, push back against those who wanted to control everything.
Right.
It's pretty inspiring how a group of, dedicated people can have that much impact.
It is. It reminds us that we all have a voice. We can all help shape the things we care about,
Yeah.
whether it's standing at matches or something else you're passionate about.
Right.
Safe standing shows change IS possible.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listener to take away?
Don't underestimate your own voice. Don't be afraid to challenge things. Speak up for what you believe in. Fight for the changes you want to see.
Yeah.
Safe standing proves that even the most stuck-in-their-ways systems can change with enough passion, dedication, and smart thinking.
Well said. And who knows, maybe their story will inspire a whole new generation of fans to stand up, speak out, make their mark on the sports they love. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. And remember, the conversation, it doesn't end here. Go out there, find your voice, make a difference.